Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSE, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examination. And about me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Thumala and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And it would be in regards to the DNA of the Hindu, that is today's 24th February 2021. And throughout my session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the Hindu newspaper, wherein we will identify the factual, analytical, and conceptual questions which will be useful for the UPSC prelims perspective. And while you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing for the mains examination, your answers for the mains would be precise and concise, and thereby you will score higher marks in the mains examination. And this session at AKS IAS Academy DNA will certainly help you to crack both the prelims as well as mains of 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we will be focusing at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that if you want to become big, stop thinking small. So do not think small if you want to become big, or if you want to have a success and be a successful person, a very big person, which you might certainly show a part to the entire nation or to the world, then do not think small. If you want to become big, stop thinking small. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper, and this is in regards to the bail to Disha, that is the activist Disha Ravi, who has been granted bail by a Delhi court. And the Delhi court has granted the bail, terming that the toolkit which she has shared by the climate change activist, the Delhi High Court says that the toolkit is innocuous. Innocuous means it makes it very clear that a Delhi court says that the toolkit is innocuous, that is, it is harmless and it is safe. So when it is harmless and safe, so certainly the Delhi court has granted bail to the climate change activist Disha Ravi. And Disha Ravi, the climate change activist, was arrested because she had shared the toolkit which was related to the farmers' protest, and the farmers were protesting against the three contentious farm laws. And when this farm laws against protest by the farmers was taking up, the climate change activists have shared the toolkit, and it has become a very big news that she has been part of the entire violence, and she was booked under sedition by the Delhi court. But a Delhi court has granted a bail to the climate change activist Disha. And we will look at what did the court or the Delhi court, while granting the bail, it has made some statements. It has made some statements because the additional session judge Dharmender Rana has said that law proscribes. What do you mean by proscribes? That means law bans or forbids any kind of activities which would be intended or would have a tendency to create disorder, or when it creates any activity which create disturbance of public peace, or any activity which resort to violence, then the law will ban such kind of activities. But the session court has made it very clear that the evidence which was produced in regards to the climate change activists arrest was scanty and sketchy. So as the evidence was scanty and sketchy, therefore the additional session court has granted bail to the climate change activist Disha Ravi. And it's very clearly specifies that law will forbid on the activities which will create disorder or which will create disturbance of public peace, and which would create a resort to violence. And these kind of scenarios or these kind of situations were not been provided, or it is not part of the toolkit which the climate change activist has shared during the farmers protest in regards to or against the three contentious farm laws. And the session judge also makes it very clear that citizens are the conscience keepers of government in a democratic nation, and citizens cannot be put behind the bars simply because when they are choosing to disagree with the state policies. And the judge also made it very clear that the additional solicitor general on behalf of the government has admitted that PJF, that is Poetic Justice Foundation, is not a banned organization, and the Poetic Justice Foundation had no criminal action which were pending against the founder of the Poetic Justice Foundation, that is Dhaliwal and Anita Lal. In this scenario, so how can you say that this session judge has asked the additional solicitor general that how can the evidence proved or evidence the way you have arrested the climate change activist on the basis of sedition, that they have created disorder, disturbance of public peace and resorted to violence, wherein it is they cannot, the citizens cannot be put behind bars simply when they are disagreeing with the state policies. And the session judge also makes it very clear that the right to dissent, this is a keyword, right to dissent is enshrined in the Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, and in turn the freedom of speech and expression, the session judge quote says that the freedom of speech and expression includes the right to seek a global audience. So there is nothing that violence has been resorted or disturbance of public peace or it has created a disorder by the climate activist Ravi Disha while sharing the toolkit which was in regards to the farmers protest against the three contentious farm laws. So this was very clear, or it was prescribed by the additional session judge, and it has granted bail to the climate change activists. And this is as per the polity. We need to focus that because there are two keywords, that is right to dissent and the freedom of speech and freedom of expression includes the right to seek global audience. So these are the one which you need to focus while trying to emphasize on the Delhi court, Sessions Court, which has granted Disha Ravi bail. And we know that in Myanmar there is a military coup which has happened, and there is a need that democracy to be restored back as soon as possible. And in the midst of this, there is a scenario which is linking to India, that is a northeastern state, that is Mizoram. And Mizoram's apex student body has asked the state government, Mizoram government, to provide asylum. This is a keyword, that the students organizations or apex body of students have asked the state government to provide asylum to whom? To the one or to the villages, people in villages in Myanmar who are affected by the military coup. Please do understand here, the Mizoram apex students have asked the state government to provide asylum to the villages or the people of the villages in Myanmar affected in the military coup, that they be accepted or given asylum to come to India, that is into Mizoram, because the people who are bordering the villages or the villages who are in Myanmar and bordering the Mizoram are belonging to the Myanmar's Chin community. So this Chin community is seeking to migrate or to be provided asylum to or into Mizoram so that they can escape military crackdown which is now very much obvious in Myanmar. And this Chin community and the Mizos in India, that is from the Mizoram, belong to the one ethnic group, and that ethnic group is called as Zo ethnic group. So these are the keywords which you need to focus from history and culture between India and Myanmar, wherein there are bordering villages within India, that is Mizoram and the Myanmar, how they share the same ethnic group, how they share the same culture, so that now the apex students body of Mizoram are requesting the Mizo National Front government of Mizoram, which is headed by Chief Minister Zoramthanga, that the Chin community be provided asylum and they would migrate to Mizoram to escape a military crackdown. But in turn, the Chief Minister, that is state's Mizo National Front government, has said that asylum would be considered only when there is a formal request which is cleared by the union government. So here we have the issue which we need to focus from history and culture. And there is a concept here which we need to look at, that is in regards to the internal security. That is, if there is a situation that India has to provide asylum or accept the migration of Chin community into Mizoram, then is there any internal security problem? So that also has to be taken into consideration while you are analyzing the news which is in regards to the providing asylum to the Chin community who are in Myanmar, that they be given asylum into India, that is Mizoram. History and culture and internal security is the one which topics which we need to focus while we are analyzing this news. And there is another news which talks about the cow science examination. So this is a keyword which you need to focus for the prelims perspective of UPSC, cow science examination. So we will look at what is cow science and who has actually come up with this concept of cow science examination. And the Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog, RKA, has now cancelled the indigenous cow science examination, because they have cancelled because there was a widespread criticism about the promotion of fake claims and pseudoscience of cow. So about the fake claims and the pseudoscience, there was criticism widespread across India, and thereby the Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog has cancelled the indigenous cow science examination. Why there was a widespread criticism? We will look at it. There was a widespread criticism against the fake claims and the pseudo claims of Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog because the reasons we will look at. Why there was a widespread criticism? Because the Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog were claiming that the dung of indigenous cows will protect against radioactivity, and the cow milk had traces of gold, and the cow slaughter has caused earthquakes. So these are the three claims which have been widely criticized, and thereby the Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog has cancelled the indigenous cow science examination. This is crucial for prelims perspective, that what are the three reasons which the Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog has cancelled the indigenous cow science examination because of the widespread criticism. And there is a chairman for the RKA body, that is Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog. That is, the chairman of the body has announced that there would be a national Kamadhenu Gau Vignan Prachar Prasar exam. So this exam was supposed to be held on February 25th, 2021. But because of the widespread criticism against the fake claims and the pseudoscience taken up by the Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog, they have cancelled the Kamadhenu Gau Vigyan Prachar Prasar exam. And this Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog, again this is crucial because of the prelims UPSC perspective, that the RKA was set up in the year February 2019, 2 years back, and it was made as an advisory body. RKA is an advisory body which would be focusing on the issues which are related to protection, conservation and development of indigenous cow and its offspring, that is progeny. So we need to focus what is RKA and then how it has come up with announcing the Kamadhenu Gau Vigyan Prachar Prasar exam as a advisory body which was set up in February 2019, and it would be focusing on the issues related to protection, conservation and development of indigenous cow and its offspring. And the department which looks into it is Animal Husbandry Department has made it very clear, because of the fake claims or because of the widespread criticism against the fake claim and pseudoscience of RKA, the Animal Husbandry Department has said that the RKA body which was set up in 2019 has no mandate to conduct such an examination, that is Kamadhenu Gau Vigyan Prachar Prasar exam. So here we need to focus about RKA and also the Animal Husbandry Department, which has made it very clear that the RKA doesn't have any mandate to conduct the cow science examination. So the keywords in regards to the prelims perspective, we have looked at the cow science examination, Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog, Ministry of Animal Husbandry Department, and the fake claims and the pseudoscience which was widely criticized across the nation. And there is another news which we need to focus, that the keyword which the External Affairs Minister Mr. S. Jaishankar has spoken at the Human Rights Council, that how India is approaching, or what is the approach towards terrorism from India. And the External Affairs Minister has said that India's approach to the United Nations Human Rights Council is guided by the 3 points, that is spirit of engagement, through dialogue and through consultation. So India has made it very clear its approach to the United Nations Human Rights Council in regards to how it handles, how it looks at the human rights. Please do understand, here the keyword is how India is focusing on the human rights. So it has focused on saying that human rights would be, or how India's approach on human rights would be on the spirit of engagement and through dialogue and through consultation only. And it said that India will certainly believe equal emphasis in regards to the human rights, and this equal emphasis on the human rights will be placed on 2, that is on promotion and protection of human rights. So the keywords what we need to focus here is that human rights would be guided by the spirit of engagement through dialogue and consultation, and there would be an equal emphasis of human rights by the process of promotion and protection of human rights. And the promotion and protection of human rights would be pursued or would be taken up through dialogue, as we discussed, consultation, cooperation, technical assistance and capacity building. So there is a scientific approach which India has made it very clear its approach towards human rights to United Nations Human Rights Council, that human rights would be guided through a spirit of engagement, dialogue, consultation, cooperation, technical assistance and capacity building. And India believes on equal emphasis on human rights based on promotion and protection of human rights. So these are the keywords which are very crucial for you for the mains perspective, because the keyword what we need to focus, or what you need to focus, is that human rights. Because it is directly linked to the a keyword called as democracy. So what is that? Is there a democracy which is prevailing in India, or there is a dissent that the democracy is now being neglected in India, and how India has put forth its scientific approach to United Nations Human Rights Council, because this is the one. Human rights and democracy are the two keywords which you need to focus, because there are a lot of issues which have been taken up by the world countries in regards to India, especially the Jammu and Kashmir issue, and also various actions which are taken against the journalist and activist. So definitely the journalist, comedians, civil rights activist, or climate change activist. So all these journalists, comedians, civil rights activists, and then climate change activists who have raised their voice against the state policy or the government policies have been booked under Sedition Act. So thereby there is a question of human rights, and there is a question of whether democracy is prevailing in India by the world countries. That is why it is very necessary that you need to focus what is the approach. So altogether, looking at this, we need to focus at what is the approach India is maintaining, and what the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has put forth, or he has reached to the United Nations Human Rights Council about India's approach in handling the human rights in India. And External Affairs Minister has also, while addressing the high-level segment of 46th session of Human Rights Council, this is again for prelims perspective, which session has taken place. It is the 46th session of Human Rights Council. He has said, while talking about the human rights, he has also spoken about the terrorism. And he says that the terrorism is now the greatest threat to the entire humankind. And terrorism cannot be justified, and it cannot be justified that its perpetrators are equated with the victims. So definitely terrorism is the one which has been emphasized at the Human Rights Council. And he has mentioned that terrorism is a crime against humanity, and terrorism violates the fundamental human rights, namely the right to life. Please do understand here how there is a necessity that you as a civil servant aspirant have to link two keywords, that is terrorism with fundamental human rights, and how our External Affairs Minister has spoken about the human rights, and how India's approach towards human rights, and how terrorism is a gravest threat to the humankind, and it violates the fundamental human rights, that is right to life. And he has made it very clear that human rights agenda in the world is facing a major challenge, that is from terrorism. And he expressed that India's desire is to work with all of the members of the Human Rights Council to make sure that human rights agenda are protected from terrorism. Please do understand the two keywords, terrorism and fundamental human rights. How India has put forth linking terrorism with the fundamental human right, that is right to life. And it says that the fundamental rights, they continue to evolve. That is, the fundamental rights, which is a basic right, that is right to life, is a dynamic process which our external affairs minister has put forth, saying that fundamental rights continue to evolve. It is dynamic in nature, he says, and it evolves through legislation, that is by parliament. It evolves as a progressive interpretation of laws, wherein it is again dynamic, and that is taken up by judiciary. And there would be a continuous evolve or dynamic process about fundamental rights, which can be acclaimed as a fundamental rights. And the other one is through active participation of civil society and citizens. So these are the keywords, or these statements are the one which you need to focus, that how the fundamental rights can evolve. So you can use these lines in your mains examination, which wherein there is a point about human rights or human rights, that is in regards to the fundamental rights. So fundamental rights are dynamic, and they evolve through legislation, they evolve through progressive interpretation of laws, and through active participation, and that happens through parliament, judiciary, civil society and citizens. That means how parliament, judiciary, civil society and citizens have the role in the evolution of fundamental rights in the world. And it says that India's commitment to human rights is certainly put forth by the way the Indian government has handled the pandemic situation. And India's experience shows, or it projects, an inclusive and pluralistic society and a vibrant democracy. Please do understand, I've used the word saying that how the fundamental rights are equated with democracy in India, I said. And that is how the external affairs minister has said that India's experience is as inclusive and pluralistic society, and it has a vibrant democracy. So linking democracy with fundamental rights, and then again linking fundamental rights with terrorism. These are the three keywords which you need to focus, and then you need to link it with one another. How there is a necessity that would arise, and you need to be in a position to answer to the question which is framed by UPSC, linking the three keywords, that is democracy, fundamental rights or human rights, and the kind of the which is a grave threat to the entire humankind is terrorism. And there is another news which focuses is on health care for all. So this is a keyword, health care for all. So our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized health care for all, and he has emphasized that while he was talking about the budget allocation this year, that is in the financial year 2021-2022, wherein the budget allocation for the health sector was unprecedented, and he says that the Indian government is committed to provide health care to every citizen. And he has also mentioned about the PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat scheme. This is a keyword which you need to focus when the government of India is committed to provide healthcare to every citizen, and that can be possible through even one of the scheme brought up by the union government, that is PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat scheme. And under this scheme, it has been decided that modern ecosystem will be developed. This is a keyword. Modern ecosystem is the keyword under Atman or Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat scheme, wherein this modern ecosystem will be developed for research, testing and treatment of the country itself. When we are talking about country itself, that is healthcare to every citizen. So certainly the PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat scheme has a modern ecosystem, is with a modern ecosystem which is developed, which will be focusing into research, testing and treatment of every citizen. And while he was talking about the healthcare for all, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that COVID-19 pandemic has taught the country a lesson that how we should be prepared to fight similar challenges or similar kind of pandemic situation in the future. And certainly India has to focus on, he has made a point saying that India has to focus on medical equipment to medicines, focus on ventilators to vaccine, focus on scientific research to surveillance infrastructure, and also India should focus on doctors to epidemiologists. So there is a wide range of focus which our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made while he was talking that healthcare for all. It would be, healthcare would be for all only when there is focus on medical equipment to medicines, ventilators to vaccines, focus on scientific research to surveillance infrastructure, from doctors to epidemiologists. And thereby, Prime Minister has also said that the government is working for a or with a four-pronged strategy. This is the keyword which you need to focus for both prelims as well as mains perspective, that you can try or you can certainly insert or append, add to your answer in regards to the healthy India or health for all. How the government is working, that is with four-pronged strategy. And we will look at the four-pronged strategy. And the first one is prevention of illness and promotion of wellness. This is very important because we can see a healthy India when we first prevent the illness and promote the wellness. And the prevention of illness and promotion of wellness can be taken up by Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, yoga, timely care, treatment of pregnant women and children. And this is the first strategy for a healthy India. And the second one is to provide cheap and effective treatment. And this is for the vulnerable section of the people or to the poorest of the poor people in India, so that India would be a healthy India. And the third strategy which the government is working is to increase the quality of health infrastructure and healthcare professionals. So India can be healthy in India by preventing the illness and promotion of wellness only by providing a good health infrastructure and healthcare professionals. And the fourth strategy taken up by the government is to work on a mission mode. And the mission mode is to overcome the obstacles and then make India a healthy India. And then healthcare for all, which the government is focused that it is committed to provide healthcare to every citizen, can be possible by the four-pronged strategy. That is the first, second, third and the fourth. And this is a crucial information even for mains answer. And now we look at the question for the day for the mains examination. Sorry. And the question is, citizens or conscience keepers of government in a democratic nation. And these citizens cannot be put behind bars simply because they choose to disagree the state policies. Critically evaluate. So you have a clear understanding about the how or whenever a citizen is disagreeing with the state policies and raising their voice against the government policies, they are put behind bars. And they cannot be put behind bars because while they are raising their voice or disagreeing with the state policies, they are, that means citizens are conscience keepers of the government. And when they are conscience keepers of the government, they cannot be put behind bars on the Sedition Act or Sedition Law. So there is a very clear link between conscience keepers of the government and sedition law. And the question that you need to answer is critically evaluate. So you can put in your views, quoting various examples, as I said, in regards to the government, how in various scenarios we have seen that journalists, or we have seen few comedians, and the climate change activist, recent news, and also civil rights activist, how they are being put behind bars when they choose to disagree the state policies. Critically evaluate, and this please do try to enhance your writing skills for the mains examination. And I hope this was an informative, knowledgeable, and very important for mains as well as prelims perspective of UPSC. So I would say a very big thank you, good luck, and do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And do not forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel, and also the website and the Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy. And see you again tomorrow with the DNA, that is daily news analysis, at AKS IAS Academy. Till then, thank you, goodbye, and then take care.